Y'all, this is the thing about researching and getting things from out of the country. So, um, this is a y'all only brother, um, in in South America, y'all. He's a y'all only brother. Y'all look what they ain't telling us. Y'all, America broke. America done. It's over. It's done. It's gone down to the trash. And y'all over here putting y'all bets into a sinking ship. Get off the ship, anime. Get off the ship. Instead of eat the cake, get off the ship. America gone down. Get off our land.
Half truth is a full lie.
Let me bring this down. Let me move this over. You just gotta see the guy. You know, that guy right there. And see, everybody thinks about this Venezuela, Maduro being captured and all this. That's the important part. That's not the important part. This is end time prophecy.
If you turn on the television today, you will see the same looping footage. You will see helicopters, you will see special forces, you will see the dramatic extraction of a Latin American leader. The media is calling it a victory for democracy. They are calling it a restoration of order. They are analyzing the tactical brilliance of the raid and the political fallout in Washington. But as always, they are showing you the circus so you do not look at the bank vault. What happened in Venezuela today was not a political operation. It was not about human rights. It was not even really about Nicolás Maduro. It was a margin call. To understand why the United States just took the extreme risk of launching a military operation in South America, you do not need to look at the polls or the Constitution. You need to look at a much more boring, much more terrifying chart. The United States Strategic Petroleum Reserve. For the last 3 years, the United States has been draining its emergency oil tanks to artificially lower the price of gas. They have been selling the family silver to pay the rent. The reserve is now at its lowest level since the 90s.
Do you hear that? Did you hear that? Did you hear that sound confirmation? Did you hear that? Do you hear that? That sound confirmation. It's over. It's done. America's kaput. It is finished. It ain't gonna never be great again. Y'all need to go back to your land while you still got a chance. Get up out of here. Get up out of here. And leave these Israelites our land. You better get out of here. Y'all better get out of here. Because I just put a video on there saying that if you on this land and you don't belong here, the Most High y'all gonna put you out. That ain't what I said. That's what he said in Jeremiah. Better get off this land if you don't belong here.
1980s. At the same time, the petrodollar, the system that forces the world to buy oil in US currency, is on life support. Saudi Arabia has refused to renew its exclusive agreement. The BRICS nations are trading energy in yuan and local currencies. The exorbitant privilege of the dollar is evaporating. And then, last week, rumors began to circulate in the financial capitals. Rumors that Venezuela, the country with the largest proven oil reserves on the planet, was about to sign a definitive agreement to price its oil exclusively in a basket of BRICS currencies. That was the red line. The United States cannot afford to let the largest oil tank in the world disconnect from the dollar. If that happens, the demand for US Treasury bonds collapses, interest rates skyrocket, the entire debt-based economy of the West implodes. So Washington had a choice. They could accept the new multipolar reality and negotiate, or they could use the one asset they still have in abundance, military force. They chose the gun. What we are witnessing is not liberation, it is liquidation. The United States has effectively foreclosed on a country to secure its assets. They have seized the collateral. This is the return of 19th century gunboat diplomacy, disguised as 21st century humanitarianism. In this video, we are going to ignore the noise. We are not going to talk about the raid. We are going to talk about the reason. We are going to expose the desperate economic mathematics that drove the
So do y'all understand what he's saying? That the American dollar is backed on oil that we don't have. And then they were like, well, we got oil reserves. We don't have the right type of oil over here. There's different types of oil that you need. The oil that we need to run everything, to put in the gas stations, all that stuff, kind of stuff, we don't have it over here. We got a different type of oil. And they ain't going to tell you that. This is why they did the weapons of mass destruction and went over there to get oil. Because we was gone then. Y'all, in 2001, I woke up from a dream and I heard Yah. I didn't know it was Yah back then. Tell me it begins. And I didn't understand until today what that meant. He said it begins. And then I turned on the TV. I had took a sabbatical, a year sabbatical from TV. I didn't watch TV for a whole year. The day that I turned on the TV, it was 9/11. Then after that, I kept watching the news. The first thing I saw was the towers go down. Y'all was showing me there was destruction of America. Why? Because we have backed our dollar on the oil and no longer gold, no longer product. We were only backing it on oil that we don't have. The dollar's backed on the oil. And everybody else is going to Brinks or China. They made a law where in order to buy oil, you got to use the American dollar. This is how we got rich. This is how we got rich. Well, we done ran out of oil. We don't have that power no more. And they're trying their best to get it by stealing it. They've been doing the same thing they've been doing, stealing. They steal to prosper. That's what Esau did. The Most High Yah said Esau was going to live by the sword. He's going to have everything by the sword.
Might actually be the strategic defeat that breaks the dollar's back forever. Welcome to the real war. It's not about ballots, it's about barrels. To understand the ferocity of this move, you have to look at the American balance sheet. For decades, the Western media has sold us a myth. They told us the shale revolution had made the United States energy independent. They told us the US was the world's largest oil producer, and therefore it no longer needed to care about the Middle East or Latin America. This was a half-truth, and in geopolitics, a half-truth is a full lie. The United States does produce a massive amount of oil, but it produces light sweet crude. It is like champagne, bubbly, light, and expensive. The problem is that the American industrial machine, the massive refineries in Texas and Louisiana, was built 50 years ago. It was designed to process heavy sour crude. It was built to run on the thick sludge-like oil that comes from the Middle East and Venezuela. This is the refinery mismatch that the mainstream economists ignore. The US produces champagne, but its engines run on diesel. For decades, they solved this by importing heavy oil from Saudi Arabia, but that relationship is dead. We have discussed this in previous videos. Saudi Arabia is no longer the gas station of the West. Riyadh is cutting production to keep prices high. They are joining the BRICS. They are ignoring calls from the White House. So the United States faced a math problem. They were running out of the specific type of oil they need to keep their economy functioning. And worse, they had already played the race card. Over the last 2 years, in a desperate attempt to stop inflation from destroying the sitting president's approval ratings, the administration drained the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, SPR. The SPR is meant for...
The reserve gone, y'all. The reserve gone. The reserve is gone. This reserve is gone. Woo! Clutch your pearls and hold on to your America is sinking fast.
War. It is meant for national emergencies. It is not meant to buy votes. Yet, they opened the taps. They flooded the market with millions of barrels to keep gas prices artificially low. Now, the bill has come due. The SPR is hollowed out. The emergency tank is empty. And just as the tank hit empty, the Middle East flared up, threatening to cut off supply entirely. Washington looked at the map. They looked for heavy crude. Canada, they are already pumping at max capacity. Russia, sanctioned and hostile. Saudi Arabia, uncooperative and pivoting east. That left only one option. The largest proven reserves on the planet, the massive heavy crude fields of the Orinoco Belt, Venezuela. For years, the US tried to starve Venezuela into submission with sanctions. They tried to create a parallel government. They tried soft coups. None of it worked. The oil stayed in the ground, or worse, it started leaking out to China via dark.
Y'all hear that? Sound confirmation? This man ain't lying on them. This man ain't lying on them. This man telling the truth. This man telling the truth.
Fleet tankers. The economic pressure in Washington became unbearable. If oil prices spiked to $150 a barrel because of a Middle East conflict, the US economy, already teetering on recession, would collapse. The dollar would lose its purchasing power overnight. They could not afford to buy Venezuela's oil at market prices, and they certainly couldn't afford to let China buy it. So, the calculation changed. Containment was no longer an option. Possession became the necessity. This is why the narrative changed so fast. Just a few months ago, there were talks of easing sanctions. There were diplomats shaking hands. But when the SPR hit critical lows, the handshake turned into a fist. The US military operation was not launched to save the Venezuelan people. It was launched to secure the Orinoco Belt. It was a hostile takeover of a distressed asset. Think about the timing. This operation happened just as global oil prices were threatening to break out. It happened just as the US realized they could not refill the reserves on the open market without bankrupting the treasury. They needed a new supplier who wouldn't ask for market rates. They needed a supplier they could control. They needed a vassal. And since the Saudi prince refused to be a vassal, they decided to create a new one in Caracas. It is a brutal, cynical application of power. The US military is effectively acting as the private security force for the US Department of Energy. But here is the catch. While this might solve the physical shortage of oil for a few months, it accelerates the financial disaster. Because the rest of the world is watching. Every country in the global south, from Nigeria to Brazil to Indonesia, is looking at Venezuela and thinking, if we refuse to sell our resources in dollars, will they come for us next? This fear does not create loyalty. It creates an exodus. If the empty oil tanks were the gun, the currency war was the bullet. We must remember the fundamental law of the post-1971 world. The US dollar is not backed by gold. It is not backed by industrial productivity. It is backed by a simple agreement made 50 years ago with the House of Saud. Oil must be sold in dollars. This is the magic trick. Because every nation on earth needs oil, every nation on earth needs dollars to buy it, this creates a permanent artificial demand for the US currency. It allows the United States to print trillions of dollars out of thin air, export the inflation to the rest of the world, and never face the consequences. This system is the exorbitant privilege. It is the source of American prosperity. But recently, the magic started to fade. We have watched the BRICS nations systematically dismantle this system. We saw Russia demanding rubles for gas. We saw the UAE settling oil trades in Indian rupees. We saw Saudi Arabia discussing the petro-yuan with Beijing. But Venezuela was the final straw. Intelligence reports, which the mainstream media is conveniently ignoring, suggested that Caracas was preparing a nuclear option wealth outside the American banking system and survive. Washington saw this as an existential threat. If Venezuela's oil is traded in yuan, then China does not need to hold US dollars to buy it. If China dumps its US dollars, the value of the American currency crashes. If the dollar crashes, the cost of living in the United States doubles or triples overnight. The raid on Caracas was a desperate attempt to plug this leak in the financial dam. By physically seizing the government, the US installs a new administration. And what will be the first act of this new administration? You can bet your life savings on it. They will declare that, for the stability of the markets, Venezuela will honor all contracts in US dollars. They will repeg the bolivar to the dollar. They will invite American oil majors, Chevron, Exxon, back into the country to rebuild the infrastructure. They are forcing the oil back into the dollar system at gunpoint. This exposes the terrifying fragility of the American empire. A true superpower dominates through economics. It offers the best trade deals, the best technology, the most stable currency. People want to use your money. But a declining power cannot compete on merit, so it resorts to coercion. The United States is no longer the leader of the free world in the markets. It has become the enforcer of the dollar standard. And this creates a prisoner's dilemma for every other resource-rich nation. Look at Brazil. Look at the lithium triangle in South America. Look at the cobalt mines in Africa. The message from Washington is clear. Your resources belong to the dollar system. If you try to leave, we will come and get you. But this strategy has a fatal flaw. You can invade one country, you might be able to invade two, but you cannot invade the entire world. The BRICS alliance is too big. The de-dollarization trend is too advanced. By attacking Venezuela, the US has proved exactly why the world needs an alternative system. They have validated every speech Putin and Xi Jinping have ever made about American aggression. They have won the battle for Caracas, but they have lost the war for trust. Before today, countries used the dollar because it was convenient. Tomorrow, they will dump the dollar because it is dangerous. Holding US assets now means you are vulnerable. It means your sovereignty is conditional. The petrodollar is no longer a trade agreement. It is a hostage situation. And as history shows, hostage situations rarely end well for the hostage taker.
¿Cómo eliminar objetos de tus fotos en 15 segundos? Simplemente arrastre el dedo sobre cualquier objeto y simplemente desaparecerá. Y funciona con casi cualquier cosa.
So, where does this leave us? The helicopters will eventually leave Caracas. The news cycle will move on. The stock market in New York might even rally for a few days as the prospect of cheap oil intoxicates Wall Street. But the damage to the soul of the international order is permanent. By raiding Venezuela to seize its resources, the United States has officially torn up the mask of the liberal international order. For 70 years, they preached about the sanctity of borders. They sanctioned Russia for violating sovereignty. They lectured China on non-interference. Today, those lectures are worthless. The hypocrisy is now written in bold letters across the sky. The United States has revealed itself not as a global policeman, but as a global pirate. A pirate that is running low on supplies and is willing to board any ship to stay afloat. This act of desperation will not save the dollar. It will.
They are a global pirate. They're thieves. They're thieves, y'all. They ain't nothing but a bunch of wicked ass thieves. They had a 500 years, y'all. 500 years. They had slaves. They didn't have to pay. They paid low wages. And all these different things. And they still couldn't do it. They had a 500-year lead. They lived for free. They was bullied. They got products for free. They came over here and took land. Then they took slaves. Then they unalived everybody that they could. And they still failed. They still failed. And y'all worship at these people's feet and y'all scared of them? They ain't nothing but pirates and thieves and murderers and bullies. My grandma said the bigger they are, my granddaddy said the bigger they are, the harder they fall. And they finna fall hard. They talking about make America great again. You know, make America thieves again. They out there stealing and willing and killing to make theirs. They ain't never made an honest dollar. They ain't never made an honest dollar. And look at them. They're getting snitched on right now.
Accelerate its demise. Think about the reaction in Riyadh. The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia is watching this. He sees that an oil-rich leader was removed because he threatened the petrodollar status quo. Do you think this makes Saudi Arabia more loyal to Washington? No, it makes them paranoid. It convinces them that they must move their wealth into gold, into yuan, into assets the US military cannot reach. It convinces them to speed up their entry into BRICS. Think about the reaction in Beijing. China now knows that its energy supply lines from the Americas are not safe. This will force China to double down on its pipelines with Russia and Iran. It will force the Eurasian...
And this is why he want Greenland. This is why he want Greenland. He's trying to stop. He's trying to control it so he can have something to hold over their head, over China and Russia's head. Y'all, it's over for America. It is over for America. And y'all need to stop sucking at the teeth of these wicked ass people. Y'all better get on the y'all road. Y'all better get on the y'all road. Because those who call it y'all name, what gonna happen when you call it y'all name? You will be saved.
Fortress to close its gates even tighter. The US hope to secure cheap oil. Instead, they have solidified the anti-American alliance. They have drawn a line in the sand. The West versus the rest. And in this new divided world, the West is finding itself outnumbered and out-resourced. You can steal Venezuela's oil for a year, maybe two, but you cannot steal the future. The economic gravity is shifting to the east. The productive capacity is in the east. And now the moral high ground, as twisted as it sounds, is being claimed by the east. The Venezuela raid will go down in history books, not as a triumph of American power, but as the moment the American empire admitted it was bankrupt. They had to break the glass and pull the emergency lever. The oil may flow north for now, but the trust, the influence, and the legitimacy of the dollar have flowed away forever. The petrodollar is dead. Long live the empire of debt.
Please, I will do anything. I'll do anything. I'll cook. I'll do your laundry. I will do anything in the universe to get you back. Just please, come home.
Sure.
It's over with, y'all.
That was the video clip. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you gleaned something from it, like I gleaned from it. As the forecaster, one of these world forecasters stated that he said they had like a year or two to be their economics, their power.
It's over. It's over.
But guess what? The Negro, aka black guy, aka Negro, aka Aboriginal Indians, aka true and only physical Hebrew Israelites, Ebrites, have been telling the world that he's the devil that the Bible speaks of. When he talks of a lie. What is that? Psalm 36. He told the world always is saving them for, the saving the people. All the drugs. They are the drug dealers and stuff. Hold on, wait. All right, here it is. Psalm 36. For the leader of the servant of the Lord of David, I know what transgressions it says to the wicked. He has no sense of the dread of God, the Most High, because its speech is seductive to him, till the iniquity be found out and he be hated. Let me read that again. I kind of messed it up, but this kind of goes with what we're talking about.
Did y'all see the video where the girl was begging, saying they'd do anything, we just come back? Now, we couldn't have put that, he couldn't have put that commercial together like that. I don't think he caught that. I did. The girl was begging. That's America begging for us to come back. Come back. Bring it all back. Come back. Come back. No, baby. No, it's over. It's done. The Israelites done woke up. The Israelites done woke up. That's what 2000 was. Us waking up. That was it. They thought it was going to be overnight. It's not overnight. It didn't happen overnight. The plagues came slowly, slowly. Then you notice after 2001, the price of everything started going up. Everything started getting higher. Things started getting harder. You used to be able to hustle and you stopped being able to hustle. And then 2012, it jumped up even harder. Oh, baby. And then 2020, the whole thing shut down. Y'all said it's over. It's done with. And then after 2020, the Israelites started coming out saying, we're the Israelites, we're the Indians, we are this, we are that, we are this, we are this. This is our land. Y'all stole from us. Y'all done lied. Y'all done did this. Y'all done did that. Everything's coming out. All the truth is coming back. They done found out we ain't African and this is our land and all this kind of stuff. And now we find about y'all only. It's over.
I know what transgression says to the wicked. He has no sense of the dread of God, because its speech is seductive to him, till his iniquity be found out and he be hated. America, has been hated for a while, but soon, like I said, like in a year or two, I don't know, because some of you guys may not be into business and politics and finance. Maybe you didn't understand it too. But what he's saying is this facade of all power is like got a year or two on it. At the most, that's what he was saying.
It's going to be over with. Faster than that. Watch my word on it.
Like Egypt. Egypt had everything. That's why I'm correlating it. Egypt had everything, the power, the military, the money, everything. And then Mosai turned it upside down. And this is what this is, the 2026 prophecy. You're seeing the same thing happening to Egypt, happening to United States of America. He's turning it upside down. And he's going to make them all go into Joel chapter 3. I'll wait for that prophecy to come out. We're all getting ready to fight. But first, they're chopping off the financial head of the United States, which brings us even more, even closer, even sooner to the end of days.
Hallelujah.
Egypt was totally destroyed. Like, Pharaoh went back to his, castle or whatever you call it. And his wife there, but they got the dead boy, son there, and you got a few other people left, and they just totally finished. This was going to happen. Israelite, you're going to go from the tail to the head. It's happening right before your eyes.